order because it's a hybrid meeting. We will take a roll call attendance. And I'm reading directly from our website, so the order in which I call your name is the order in which we were appointed. Alan Reinhardt?
Present.
Thank you. Your chair, Lee Saperstein, is present. Rick Atherton?
Present.
Thank you. Nat Lowell? So far, no. Phil Smith?
Here.
Hi, Phil. Nelson Snooky Eldridge?
Here.
Thank you. Ed Gillum?
Here.
And Rob Rennie, I don't see him either. Thank you, folks. That is more than enough people for a quorum. 7 out of 9 is definitely a quorum. The next item on the printed agenda is comments for items not on the agenda. We do have several guests. And I may point out, I didn't call the roll for guests, so let me do that now. For Wisconsin Civic Association, Carol Greenberg. Could you say you're here?
I'm sorry, I'm here.
And Lynn Filipski,
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
and our town manager, Libby Gibson.
Here.
Thank you. I'm just making notes for backup, because we are recording this, and I will mention that it is being recorded. There's a long speech that we, at one time, we had to read every word of it, but basically it said, you're being recorded, so let's keep it polite and let's be aware that whatever we say may be listened to by the person about whom we're speaking. Okay. Public comments. Fine. With all credit to our real estate specialists who have been working on minutes with the help of the interns, we do have a copy of, and it has been distributed, of the June minutes. We're still working on July and August. The challenge is, as we learn how to use the AI written material, the artificially intelligent approach to the recording converts it to TypeScript, but it isn't very good at names. And so the July minutes are ready to roll with a couple of blank spots for names, and we'll get to that. If I may ask for a motion to approve the June minutes, they have been distributed earlier and again this morning.
Motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Snooky. I just write June. Second,
I'll second.
thank you. And I regret to tell you, it's all going to be roll call. Though the issue is to vote in favor.
Aye.
Alan, and I did have and the chair votes aye. Rick,
Aye.
thank you. Gordy,
Aye.
thank you. And Phil,
Aye.
Snooky,
Aye.
and Ed Gillum.
Aye.
I didn't see anybody who wants to vote nay, but that possibility could have existed. And now we'll move to the key item of business, which is committee reorganization. I had the sense in the last few meetings of our previous term that we were stalling, having done such fabulous work. Alan has shared with me some of the notes of the things that we did in the past 10, 15 years. I joined the committee in 2010. But not a lot was happening in the last quarter of our previous meeting, our previous year. And I was hopeful that we might be able to move forward from there. And I'll just say one thing, Libby, before I call on you. I was sitting with Mike Burns, who is listening to me, he's on, who said he very much would like to have a citizens committee for traffic planning advisory. And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, Mike, I swore I would never do this." And he looked at me and grinned and said, volunteer to be a chair. So we have got people who are asking for our help. And at the same time, I did talk with head of planning for the town and our town manager. And Libby, may I turn to you for some of your earlier concerns?
So, yes, when Lee brought this to me, it was sort of initially, I think there was several bits of input about maybe what the right-of-way committee's mission could potentially expand to, since its very original mission probably is not as relevant as it once was back in the day. The government is completely different than it was when the right-of-way committee was very active. Very little from the right-of-way committee has come to me for any sort of action or review or approvals of any kind other than the public way access stone markers. And I don't have, I'm not really sure what is on the agenda, and what the committee obviously can't do anything on its own. In particular, there was some interest in reviewing Chapter 91 applications, which I was forwarding to the committee for review and comment. I got a little bit of comment back, not a lot. So when Mike brought up that idea, that sounded more or less intriguing. There was a little bit of notion of expanding into traffic and parking, which I'm not a supporter of. We already have a group that does that. But the idea of having a citizen group that could help review transportation projects, and perhaps bring forward concerns, ideas, public outreach assistance, or just communications within the community to bring back to a committee that could help with community knowledge, outreach, input, I guess, for lack of a better word. I don't want to say that too much. But so Lee, I think you drafted up a bit of a, we're kind of going around about a potential newish mission, and it sounded fine to me. And we then talked about the ways in which that mission would be changed. Ultimately, that would be something to be approved by the select board, if this is going to be a select board appointed committee. And we talked about, does the right-of-way committee simply end and disband because it doesn't have the mission it used to, or just change the mission and keep everybody on it? And that, in some ways, that's just a little easier. So that's kind of where we ended up, and I think ended up agreeing that it should come back to the committee for comment and feedback.
Thank you, Libby. To add to the things we've been working on, the real estate people have been asking us about encroachment, and we've had lengthy conversations about encroachment on Nantucket, particularly on the public roads. And then we were told, hey, hang on just for a little bit. We're revising our presentation, but there will be something on encroachment in the next month or two. But thank you.
And may I just tack on to the encroachment idea? That actually would be a potentially helpful thing for the right-of-way committee to assist on or weigh in on. For example, if there is an encroachment somewhere that is possibly considered historical by whoever's property it's on, it is helpful to have a group out there that's not town staff to help say, yes, we think this is a good idea, or no, we don't. And make some recommendations on stuff like that. So that actually would be helpful. And we are about to put out a revived, I guess I would say, focus onto the select board's already existing encroachment policy. We're seeing quite a lot of encroachment activity out there. And the idea is to bring it forward to the board, have them sort of re-endorse it, even though it hasn't changed, just yes, this is our policy, we're all about it. And then a press release and some public outreach, letting everybody know we're tackling it again, because we've seen an uptick in encroachments. And then the action will start on removal, active removal.
And we'd be pleased to help, and I think it's consistent with the revised mission. I will, Libby, it was some time ago when you turned to my predecessor, Alan, and said, can you work on an encroachment policy? And we sent a rather elaborate suggestion. Town council removed some of the things that they thought might trespass on legality, but the revised regulation is the one that's up on the town website. Okay.
Stay on this. You want any comments on this? I'm sorry I'm late. Great. This is a huge conversation.
Yeah,
This is really good.
Nat, if it's encroachment, we'll deal with that. But right now we're talking about reorganization.
No, well, both, but that's
Okay.
okay. No, that's all right.
So what I'm going to do, recognizing that Nat has asked to speak, is say that the next step is to look at the draft vision and mission, membership, and name. So having said that, it is open for discussion. It is the item that was attached to the agenda. Nat.
Oh, I just want to thank Libby for what she said. I didn't need to hear the whole thing to know how good it was. Because that's exactly what we needed to hear. To have a reset of this committee. We do need to do that. Because of the variety of reasons. And I wanted to bring something up that Rick and I were on, Libby, back when we called it the Street and Sidewalk Committee. And there was 2 different times where that committee was activated by the select board. For sewer, for the original sewer phase 1 or whatever we called it then. And then it got done again for a little while with Kara. And the things that we looked at were encroachment issues, but more historic ones, like the porch step things on Fair Street, things like that. Sidewalk parking, which will end up becoming, again, will come around full circle again, which is a traditional thing. But I think this encroachment today is different than it was even 10 years ago. The sprinkler systems in the layouts of the roads, which is it's complicated. There's a lot of it that's totally fine, and there's a lot of it that's not. And you do need to look at them individually. The metal stakes are gonna hit a bike. A kid on a bike could be killed at night with these stakes, that driving them into the ground. Well, I know, but I'm trying to be, not a hyper about it.
Worst case.
I'm trying to just be fair with that. If you can't see them in the day, then you're not looking, but there is some bad stuff out there that these private homeowners are doing. But it doesn't mean everything's bad. It just means some of them are really bad and other ones are like, 1 through 10, maybe a 3,
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get that in because I know that that's on the radar right now because there's so much of it, whether it's rocks, stakes, the little push-in stakes. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about actual metal driven into the ground stakes. They're out on the edge of the pavement in a lot of places.
So, Nat, thank
That's
you.
it. Thank you.
I'm
very
gonna
much.
pull us back, but with 3 quick announcements. In discussing all of this, it's clear that the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee has been collapsed.
No.
Yes, it's gone. The Traffic Safety Work Group has been converted to an entirely staff only. Parking and yellow lines and all of that will belong to traffic safety. And the membership of that are key people in the town, police chief, fire chief, DPW, and 2 or 3 more. In terms of Nat's concern, my proposal, the proposal I have drafted, which I hope will be your proposal, includes 4 ex officio people. Mike Burns as the lead because he's asked to help. The real estate specialists because they have contributed greatly to the committee. Director DPW, and that should get us issues of the history of building roads or whatever that the DPW asks us to consider. And finally, a liaison to the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission, which right now Nat fulfills, whether or not that's,
I'm just here.
you're just here, okay. So,
I don't know why.
no bicycle and pedestrian advisory. We will become that if we make the change. Traffic safety work group, staff only. And 4 ex officio listed without vote, but we're hoping that they will generate a lot of our activities. And with that, Phil.
I think this makes a lot of sense because I've been on this committee for maybe 6 years or so, and I think that we have just brought up these topics sort of organically, naturally, as we're trying to think of roads and right of way, and it's not really roads and right of way. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And it broadens our mandate a little bit. And if the town manager and the select board agree that this is something that they would like us to take responsibility for, it really formalizes a lot of the conversations and discussions we've had over the last several years.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anybody else? What I'm going to suggest is that we move formally to request of the select board the transition to a new name and a new vision and mission. Once we ask of them, I'm presuming that in common conversation, mutual conversation, we will learn how best to make a transition. Libby, I'm not proposing steps for transition at this point. I'd like consent from the select board before we move to that. Okay? I could move it, but I think it would be a better idea if somebody.
So just to be clear on the page, the idea for the name at the moment is Public Access and Transportation Planning Advisory Committee.
Yes,
Ooh,
I like that.
That's actually
I
really
like,
good.
I like
hadn't read
keeping
that.
public access.
Yeah.
under
I think
important
that's a
topics.
critical point.
Because that hasn't gone away.
And
It's
by the way,
maybe changed, but it hasn't gone away.
if you read both vision and mission, huge chunks of that come out of the roads and right of way.
It's, yeah.
Exactly.
Can I make a motion?
You certainly may. Thank you, Phil.
I move that we adopt this proposed proposal.
Thank you, Phil.
And what, send it forward to the
Select
town
board.
manager?
Give the
and
blessing
select board?
to Libby and.
It'll go through, it'll be to the select board.
Yeah, I agree.
Second the motion.
And Ed Gillum is seconding. I'm being a little formal about saying who you are, because with the recording, that will help generate the minutes.
Oh. AI.
And by the way, once a motion is made and seconded, it's open for discussion. We've had a lot of discussion already, but in the formality.
Ed Gillum, question about the, on the traffic safety component, which now is transitioned over. Will we have kind of an overview, or they kind of let us know what they're up to? Because some of this kind of morphs into traffic safety, obviously.
I understand what you're saying. I'm hopeful, and by the way, Mike Burns
Especially in
is
grocery.
in a conference. He's stepped out of the conference to listen to this. He's his camera is off, but I know he's part of,
Right.
the audience. I'm expecting that every time he generates something for, an improvement in the town's road network, he'll chat with us because we might be a friendlier, more helpful group than a public hearing. Because public hearing is usually, the way to get Nantucket's public involved. And
Town-
sometimes they can be filled with the room and sometimes it can be two people present.
Or a sounding board, so to speak. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Without question. So your concern about traffic safety. No, I don't see us dealing with yellow lines and handicap spaces. That's the work group. What I do see is if Mike proposes, as he has done in the past, so I'm not making anything up, that in certain key areas, a roundabout would be better than a four-way stop sign. We could have that discussion, pro or con.
Ed Gillum again, when you mentioned the yellow lines, I think the yellow lines might turn out to be part of the solution to some of the encroachments. So that's why I meant there might be an overlapping. I mean, if there are yellow lines in a lot of these places, these people are putting 4x4 stakes, et cetera. Technically, people are not supposed to park there.
And I'm suggesting with Libby Gibson listening, that open discussion is good. If we come to the conclusion that it is outside of our mission, we will transfer that mission to the town manager
Fine.
to go to traffic safety.
Fine.
Bill?
I agree.
In as much as this is a pretty dramatic change in this committee,
It is.
I'm not in any way suggesting an amendment or a change to the motion. But I think that maybe at some point, a year or 2 years in, we might all agree that if the town manager and everybody agrees that we take a look and say, hey, did we structure this in a way that makes sense, or did we forget something? Or did we add something that really is not appropriate? So we don't look at this as something that's chiseled in stone. And because we're kind of moving towards something we've never done before. I mean, all I'm saying is just a sense, just an idea that everybody agrees that, yeah, at some point in time, we all will kind of look at this, and the town manager would look at this and say, yeah, this is working, or we need to tweak it.
Phil, a part of my work history included volunteering in engineering and other technical subject education, quality assurance. And the word that I hear you say is an assessment a year or two after the transition.
If everybody agrees that that makes sense,
Oh, without question.
then if we decide what that time period is, it won't be something that we're trying to, take over somebody's turf or whatever.
I'm going to suggest, when you said time period, this probably won't happen until November. So let's say 2 years, because that would be 19 months.
Lee, just a
I hear you.
quick comment on that. I mean,
Rick,
I would hope if there was something, important came up before the 2 years, I'm sure we could all figure out how to incorporate it and not, you don't feel you have to wait, so.
No.
Okay.
No,
Just to be clear.
2 years would be the requirement to be done beforehand.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Do we need to vote on this one?
So who seconded?
I
Oh,
second.
you did.
So we have to vote?
Yeah,
We have to vote.
I forgot.
Okay, the vote is on accepting the name change, the revised vision and mission, and the incorporation of 4 ex officio members, plus our 9. And then for Lee to transmit this to the town manager for the select board. Or it's an elaborate motion, but I think we're fairly clear
I
on
think we're
that.
good.
So, once again, Alan,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Rick,
Aye.
trying to get this order here. Gordy, you're next.
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Snooky,
Aye.
and Ed.
Aye.
Thank you all. That's unanimous.
Thank you, Libby, very much for this.
Libby, it's been very helpful. Thank
We
you.
need to, this is
Um,
very important.
You're
Big-
welcome to stay for the rest of the agenda.
I have a little list of things that I will be ready to convey when the time is right.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I wanna go back to walking the streets with
So-
everyone.
We will be sending you a note in the next day or two.
Okay.
Rest assured, it has the consent of the committee, and then, we can get together, and by we, I mean you and I and members of the select board on the actual method of transition.
Okay. Maybe you and I can talk about it, Lee, and we can come up with a recommendation and figure out what a good date would be to bring the whole thing forward to the board.
That'd be fine.
Okay, you and I can be in touch on that.
Okay, now. If everybody in this committee wants to attend that select board meeting, please sit away from each other so it doesn't look like we have an ad hoc meeting of the committee. I've been very careful on trying to follow open meeting law rules. Thank you, Libby. Our next item on the agenda is from our colleagues in Sconset on the footpath. And as they get ready to talk, that would be Carol Greenberg and Lynn Filipsky. Lynn is current president of the Sconset Civic Association, and Carol.
No, Carol is current president.
Sorry, Carol.
Carol is current.
I got it backwards. Carol is the current president and Lynn is last year's president. And you're also representing the Sconset Trust.
And Julie Reddick Mead is here from the Sconset Trust. I'm on the executive director.
Oh, good. I need to note that you're here.
Sorry about that.
Bob, did you get her name? It's Julia Mead.
It's Julie Ruddick Mead.
Yeah, Julie.
Ruddick, and then Mead with an E.
The good news for Wisconsiners is the 2010 report from the Sconset Bluff Subcommittee of Roads and Right of Way has been recovered and is now up on our website. In addition, our colleagues in Sconset have prepared a sophisticated PowerPoint presentation, and that's been distributed to all members of the committee. And thanks to Gordy, who made sure that the link worked.
Yeah.
We know that you were able to see it. And so I'm going to suggest to Carol and Lynn and Julia that it's time to move on into remedies. Let's consider, since we do have time now, what a remedy might look like and how they would best be presented to the town. So, Carol and Lynn, who's leading off?
Go ahead, Lynn.
I'm at the steamship waiting to come back. So if I cut out, Carol can join in. But in our presentation, we had a number of items for you to consider, starting with limiting access. And this can really only be done, by installing gates, because no one pays attention to any rules of time, even though we carefully updated all the signs. And it's first thing in the morning at 6 or 5:30, and there's no limit to the end of the day. So you either, with the amount of people that we're seeing, which can be 1,000 people a day, you need a way to control this. And the only real solution is to gate it and have either what you yourself, your committee recommended 15 years ago, which was monitoring with community service officers, which we brought to you 2 years ago, and or having some kind of timed entrance so that the gate itself only opens at the times that you decide. Because this, as Matt Fee said, is just a disaster in terms of over tourism. And part of the problem, I would start immediately, and this is not the first time that we've asked, is to educate not only the public with real rules, not pretty pictures on the website, is to redo your website and take off pictures of the bluff entirely. There's Facebook videos that bring people in. It's not needed to really try and get more publicity here. It's over publicized. And so the maps that are handed out at Culture and Tourism or the Board of Tourism need to have the rules more than anything else, just rules. And because no one listens to us as homeowners or sconsiders that, you know, here's a rule, your stroller's not allowed on the path. Just to have someone swear at you is really either not appropriate for starters, but we have no way to enforce this. And your committee recognized this 15 years ago, that enforcement of the rules is essential. And I'm going to end with one other point, that protecting Front Street is more than overdue because they are not legally part of the bluff path at all. And they are taking as many visitors as the bluff path itself. And we have looked at the deed of Mr. Flagg, which really doesn't include the entire length of the path. And so I would like to suggest that a total review of what is legally part of the path is probably overdue. And not to mention that there's been no survey of the path seemingly in 100 years. And we know with the amount of erosion that you see on the eastern side of the island, we've already cut off half of the path because of the erosion. So I'm just suggesting that we've talked about this for a long time, and it's really time to have an action plan. So we hopefully will get your endorsement for having a stronger, more controlled access to, yes, it's a public path, but it's no longer in the best interest of the people that abut it, who, yes, knowingly know that their deed in many cases has that, but you've lost the balance of their right to private privacy. And right now it's just a public nuisance. And that's a tough legal way for you to look at this. But I'm telling you that the homeowners are unfairly being negatively affected. And that is not the intent that I'm sure Mr. Flagg in 1892, with less than 4,000 people living on the island, had envisioned at all. Carol, would you like to add something?
No, I think you said it all.
Okay.
Lynn, for the purpose of the microphone, this is Lee Saperstein, Chair. You mentioned action plan, and I think that's a great idea. I think you need to generate the action plan with alternatives from volunteerism to paid staff. And for
So
each,
Lee,
Wait, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Please, for each action item, we hope you would say who would be responsible and what the elements of cost might be. I will point out that the experience with the Conservation Foundation is that a turnstile gate was quickly removed by people who wanted to walk through the gate. Gates unattended.
Literally removed?
Yes, yes, it was a turnstile. I think, Alan, it was at, Tubman Sea Links at a turnstile.
Yeah.
So, to some extent, the action plan is going to involve surveillance. If you come up with something that we can look at and endorse, we would be happy to do that. But please understand, we advise the town, we are not the enforcement or regulatory agency. I'm hoping that you'll come back with an action plan at our next meeting.
I'm not clear on what you mean about an action plan. We
I
are
use those
presenting to you,
words.
Lee, may I speak?
Yes, of
We
course.
are telling you that we need help. We're in trouble here. We are overrun. This is affecting the village, the vitality of a wonderful village, not just the homes of the people on the bluff. People, as Lynn said, are rude. They are walking and opening their cocktails. They are running. They're taking their strollers. And you're right. Are they going to hop the gates? What do you want us to come forward with? Give me an idea, an example.
A very specific list of remedies from, the gentle to the severe, step by step. Not step by step, but remedy by remedy, with who would be responsible, both for if something has to be built for building, and who would be responsible for maintaining. We might say that items 3, 7, and 10 look great, and we would endorse those, but we need something from you other than a very heartfelt plea for help, which we would like to do, but we're not going to carry the can for what Sconset needs to produce.
But we need the town's help here, Lee. We need the town to be our partner. I can't do this on my own. I'm a volunteer. I mean, I just don't know what you're asking us to do. You want us to
Carol,
say, okay,
I'm
spoke-
saying approach the
Okay.
town with our recommendations. Rick,
so
Yeah.
you want us to say we need a split rail fence between, at entries 1 through 6,
Yeah.
right?
That-
Built by the
that would be helpful. Then we
DPW.
would know what to do and to whom to ask. Although I would say that a fence is passive and is easily jumped.
How about
Um,
an electric fence?
That involves legal counsel who may tell us that it's not legal. Rick and then Ed Gillum.
So, Carol, my quick reaction is you've got a number of possible remedies listed already in your report, and I'm sure there may be additions. But my sense is you could simply take these and figure out a little bit about how to implement any one of them with some sort of meat on the comment. And as Lee's saying, if you have some idea of what that might cost, and who might help you monitor and control access, and the times of the day you might recommend the path should be open or not, those would help us get where we want to get to.
Right. And Ed Gillum.
Well, first of all, both of you, I very much sympathize with what you're dealing with, but a lot of this is what the public in general on land bank land, a number of land, it's part of what's happening through social media in a lot of places, not just Wisconsin, Bluff Path. I was in Wisconsin today for a couple of reasons, one of which because I knew this was on the agenda tonight. So I went over there and I was asked personally, just as a stranger by 2 people, which way to the Bluff Path. A Sconsener, was asked that I knew a longtime Sconsener, I won't name him obviously. How do I get to the Bluff Path? They directed them straight down Front Street. I saw 3 people asked basically, and some of the education might start with some of the people that live in Wisconsin that are not on the Bluff Path. Because when I watched the direction straight down Front Street, it sounds like that was counterproductive to your idea about Front Street being protected. And it was by a sconser, that someone that lives there, you know, and one of them was summer and one of them was, well, one of them was seasonal and one of them was year round. So I'm just putting that forward as an observation.
Lynn and Carol, this is Lee Saperstein. We know that public ways often have restrictions on use. No motorized vehicle, that represents a restriction on a public way. Streets have been closed to be play streets, they're still public ways. By asking specifically of the town to look into these things, the town then may be in a position to talk to town council about what mechanisms would work and what might not be accepted by the state. We need to know these things. We got Ed Gillum again.
As a side comment, yeah, I mean, some of this is just, it comes down to enforcement with all these things. I mean, it might say on India Street, it's a one-way street, but that doesn't keep probably 100 people a day going the opposite way on a bicycle down India Street. In other words, it's gonna all center around, I think, more of an enforcement issue than anything else. I hope we don't have to become like a gated community where we're like blocking the gate and giving you know, a key, and then it becomes like a tourist, like take a ticket kind of thing.
Well, we're not asking for that, but we're asking for supervision. And your group already came up with this idea 15 years ago and didn't do anything. And the cost of a community service officer is well known, an hourly rate. So I know you know what that is. And my feeling is we don't own this, the town does. And Libby asked us to come back to your group because you're the advisory group that can fine tune things and send it to the select board. Otherwise, we're going directly to the select board because they're well aware of the issue. So I don't want to do this dance for too long of you hand it back to us, and we are homeowners. We aren't here to be employed and supervise this for the town. We're already doing that and taking pictures and doing counts, but that is truly not our job. We have brought the problem to you, and the fact that no one picks up the ball and says, we're going to think about this as a committee. Like when I sit on another town committee, I don't throw it back to the people who brought the problem. We work on it and then make an advisory opinion to the select board. And I think that's really what's needed here. Our voice doesn't mean anything to the culture and tourism because they've never changed any of the social media. And that would be the first start. The town is responsible for making this a terrible problem.
And that should be part of the solution. Write that down.
Well, I don't think we have to wait to write it down. You know what the problem is. It's not the first time we brought this to you. So do something. You have the authority that we do not. We're here.
When you use the word authority, we have no authority.
Okay, may I?
The temperature just. a
I
little.
met with Alan. Alan, I met with you 3 years ago and we sat at Claudette's and I said to you, we have a growing terrible problem. And you said to me, well, it is what it is. That bluff will never be closed. We are coming to you saying that's not an answer. We need to work with you to help us come up with remedies.
We gotta
I
make it
work-
up.
Last year, I worked with the DPW. I went foot by foot over that path, marking encroachments that needed to be removed. I worked with Dale and his men. I worked with homeowners and their landscapers to remove trees because the roots were crossing over the bluff path. And if someone fell, the town would be sued and the homeowner would be sued. I mean, we are monitoring that bluff. I am calling the DPW when a fence needs to be fixed. When a sign is down, We work every day to monitor and take care of that bluff because it's in our backyard and we love it and we love the people in Sconset. And Ed, I'll answer your question. As far as our Sconseters, that's an easy fix. We have almost 500 members. The Sconset Trust has, I have no idea. That's an easy fix for us to make an email blast and to redirect people. But this one is not an easy fix. And we need your help, Alan. You have been on this board for a very long time. You know what our issues are. You know about the deed. We walked with you and Bill, and right? Didn't we do that 3 years ago? We walked that bluff. We talked about markers and on about encroachment and about the gates. And no, because we're passionate about this. We need a work group, and you're a work group. I'm alone. I do have a board, but we need your help here. We need
Carol,
you guys to help with the
It's a
solution.
it's a simple request from us. Take your slide, I think it may have been slide 21 on remedies. And as Rick said, put meat on it, another metaphor, flesh it out. For each one of these, suggest who would be responsible, what the elements of construction might be. And we can then discuss this with you in terms of our endorsement, which may stand for a lot with the select board.
Slide 20.
But what if they don't like the gate idea or the split fence rail? We need a group that's going to come up with a remedy. We're going to go through all this work, Lee. We're going to talk to contractors. We're going to talk to Drew. We're going to spend time with Drew and his limited time to get numbers together. And then what? We need help. We need discussion.
I just want to mention one thing. You've got a lot of neighbors who are very unhappy. And we're trying to come up with a faster solution than 3 years of talking about this to make inroads with the residents who have been putting up with something that is grossly unfair and frankly probably have a legal case about public nuisance. And so
I've got Ed Gillum.
I'm coming in again just because I was on the Sconset Bluff Class Subcommittee, and also I actually went out there today and I walk the path regularly from time to time over the year. I don't think we need as much a cost of what things are going to cost or an estimate. I think we need more like who's in charge of putting this fence up, who's in charge of maintaining this fence. Community service officer. Are we gonna get one required out there? Are we gonna need 3? Are we gonna, in other words, we need specifics like that, I believe. I mean, the groups in certain parts of the island, Lincoln Circle for one, which I live the backside of, neighbors there actually pay for, and they still pay in the summer for private guards up there at certain times of the night to make sure that people don't go down on the beach and have campfires. I mean, there's all.
we offered that. The neighbors already offered that 2 years ago, that they would pay for the community service officers, and you guys didn't go forward with it. And
I heard they can't forget housing. I heard through the grapevine that part of it was a housing issue.
well, that's look, it's town property. The town is responsible for getting housing. So we can't come up with housing for you. We don't even own the bluff, right? So this
Rick Atherton had his hand up.
Well, I just would feel that, I sympathize with Carol. And I think we could volunteer, 1 or 2 of us, if you could stay out of the open meeting gobbledygook. And be closer in working with them to come up with potential solutions. Then we're not just sitting back and saying, come and show us whatever.
Yeah.
And I think we might ask the town if they have one person who might join as well. Because they obviously, the earlier they
It's a great
commit
idea.
to buy-in of some kind, the better off we'll all be. Okay? And Lee, just in terms of authority. My sense is our committee earns its authority by doing good work. And hopefully that the board, the select board, will appreciate and adopt. I mean, that's what happened with the first report. They formally adopted that report by a vote of, I think, 5-0. So we can do the same thing if we do a good job.
Okay,
I appreciate that, Rick, because that's exactly what we asked originally, is a working group that you get the information from us and we talk with you and we come up with a full-blown real proposal. But if you keep sending it back to us to say, go fill in everything, without you, there is no authority. We have to have you buy in instead of giving us more homework. And so I really appreciate what you just said.
Agreed.
so Rick? Are you the volunteer?
Yeah, if no one else is volunteering, I don't know if we can do 2. I think 2 would be good.
I'm happy to help as well.
You know, so.
Ed,
I'm happy to help.
okay. Rick Atherton, Ed Gillum.
And would you
will work with
recommend,
you.
would you also recommend someone from the select board on this, or the police chief, or someone, Drew from the DPW?
May I suggest that our 2 people meet with you? Because that keeps it well below the open meeting law requirement. And if you want to invite somebody into the group, that would be fine.
Lee, if you're gonna meet with Libby on our mission and all that, another thing, or talk to her when you get a chance. You want her blessing, so to speak, and I think she may have her own thoughts about who in the town, maybe a staffer, maybe a member of the board.
Mhm.
Could participate in what we're trying to develop. And
Okay,
if she has time, it doesn't take a long time to do that, so.
And if I can add to that, that's exactly right. I mean, it might be someone who's in charge of the community service officers for that matter. Yeah, it might be someone that has
well,
more
that's the police chief.
boots on, I know it is. But it has more boots on the ground of how to get the
Yeah.
enforcement done, because obviously we're not the enforcers, and there we go.
Chad?
Hi,
Sometime in that
for
room.
whom are you looking?
The Shad meeting?
They're over here.
Maybe in the other room.
Through that door?
Right.
Thank you, sorry for the disruption.
No, it's all good.
Sorry, folks, if you know the trailer, there are 2 meeting rooms here. I think we're reaching a workable conclusion. Not a conclusion to this meeting, not to the entire topic.
No.
May I just say one last thing, Lee? I talk to the police chief regularly. She's well aware of this issue. I just spoke to her last week about it. If she is someone we would like to include, I can ask her, or once you ask Libby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
Should live be in.
I think this is a happy step forward, and I appreciate the informed conversation.
And the slideshow.
Well, thank you for the kudos, and we really just want to work and make this a happy combination for visitors, people who live here, and the people who abut the property.
Thank you, Lynn, and safe journeys. The
Thank
weather's,
you.
good. The ferry should be, the
Yep,
water should be calm, and the trip should be uneventful.
yep, here I am going through the lines.
Okay,
Very good.
happy days. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Now,
Rick.
I don't think this needs a formal motion, but I do want to record that Rick Atherton and Ed Gillum will get together with Lynn or Carol to have I'll call it a subcommittee rather than a work group of our committee. And I will chat with our town manager about having somebody from the town if she agrees. That'll be their call. Okay, Lynn and Carol, thank you.
We'll look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
thank
Ed.
you, everyone. Thank you.
All right, the next item is harbor plan, and I'm gonna look at Phil. Several of you, Gordy and Rick, went through the plan to discover, I think there are 15 or 16 recommended connections between the harbor plan implementation force and this committee, only one of which has us as lead, and the others have us as participating. So my first question, Phil, is, has the state adopted this yet?
Not even close.
There we go. That is the
Not
answer.
even close.
That is.
We are, we met yesterday. And we were reviewing comments we got from, Rocky at the Board of Health. Comments from, Libby Gibson. And, I think that those were the two, people that had quite a few comments. And so, and because we hadn't plowed through the whole thing, we're meeting again this coming Monday. So, I guess a couple of things.
No good deed will go unpunished.
But I think the one thing is just because Roads and Right of Way was either made a responsible party, or what was the other one? Participating party, doesn't mean a damn thing. Yeah, but we were just, throwing it up on the wall, and if it's stuck, it's stuck. But then somebody would complain and say, that's not our job. So we, if there is anything in here where this committee thinks we were in error, let us know.
Okay. I did look at them. I didn't see errors. What I kept asking myself is, what does this mean for action on the part of Roads and Right of Way, or if?
Well, I think a critical step in this whole process is once the plan is approved, there will be an implementation committee.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm afraid to say the implementation committee will be heavily populated with members of the existing committee, because they know how it all went in together. And the implementation committee will take each one of the recommendations and try to devise a plan. One of the things that Libby made a point of in her comments, which was very good, we took to heart, is that we need to sort of prioritize the recommendations. There's so many. What's important and what's not really important. So one of the exercises the committee is going to do is a little bit of a doodle poll thing, where on each recommendation, what does each member of the committee feel, is between 1 and 5, 5 being the highest, and assign a number to it, and all that kind of stuff, and try to decide of how many recommendations, what are the top ones, so that the implementation committee would focus on those first. But I think that the implementation committee for each recommendation would probably have a couple of people working with the responsible party, whoever that might be, to come up with a plan. Or they may decide it's impossible to have a plan.
As a bit of history, I was the liaison between Roads and Right of Way and the previous implementation.
So you have experience, you can be helpful to us in this.
The chair of the implementation committee created a structured matrix of over 130 or 140 steps. And in the end, got crossways with the town. So a lot of informal negotiation with town directors or department heads, will be helpful.
Right, and I think it will be a collective effort to decide, is this a 1 or a 5?
Yeah,
And if it's a 1,
it can wait.
let the next 10 years from now, let the next committee decide if it's more than a 1. So that's sort of where we are right now.
Okay.
And, but in drafting this report, I don't have to tell this committee that there was a tendency to drift off subjects and try to throw some stuff in that was just not really a real recommendation. It was, I know this committee, I know this is foreign to this committee, but it does happen. And so anyhow, I think that we tried very hard to make sure that the recommendation was actually a recommendation for action and not a recommendation for soapbox.
Phil, is the report available to the public?
It's online.
Oh, it's online, and under what website? We're on the, just.
You got it.
I think, Alan, I think.
There's a harbor plan update thing and the website. And you can find it.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Everybody, the town's website continues to be revised. It's supposed to be more user-friendly. But if you go to the upper right, type in what you're looking for in the search box, it'll find it for you.
And you will get 121 pages and some pretty pictures.
Exactly.
Rick,
Pictures are nice.
So, Phil, could I ask you a question? I mean, part of, I think what.
I'm sorry, for the record, Rick Adams.
Rick Atherton, was to look at a number of these, items and let you know whether we thought the roads and right of way committee should even be listed or not. And if we have feelings about that, how do we communicate that as a committee? Or? As
Well, I
individuals?
think if you,
And I think of you as our rep,
right,
and we could, if there's time at one of these meetings.
I'm going to suggest with Phil's consent that we have an ongoing item in successive meetings. At which point he says, we haven't done anything, or we've done a lot, and here's where we're gonna need help. In the meantime, if you do download the report, look for roads and right of way. Is there a search engine in the report? It's, Gordy, you and Rick found them on, send us a note saying where they are.
Yeah, all you do is download the PDF, run the find.
search for
and your
roads and
business.
I was at every meeting, virtually every meeting. So when anything came up that smelled like roads and right of way, I put it in there.
Well, that's okay. I'll give you one example of what.
Okay, yeah,
hit me. I went
which
through
one,
here quickly.
which one is it?
Recommendation to
Of what?
improve
Okay,
voting, voting access.
okay,
Okay, I don't know that we have ever spent much time on
hold on a second.
voting. Maybe we should.
Let me just see. Okay, so we have.
Parties much more interested.
We have a lot of recommendation number ones. I mean, in what objective and what category was it?
So, look, others may disagree.
You got a page?
You know what, in the report is page 33, but I'm just giving you an example.
Okay, but I can give you an example when I see what I'm looking at.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on.
And I don't want to divert the committee.
No.
He's got to leave at 5:30.
Okay.
So.
Okay, what is the,
Voting access.
That is a general comment.
voting access?
Yeah, it wasn't, I mean, I'm not in
Well,
the
that's-
pretty detail.
Yacht Club, Iran, we've talked about the crazy idea of Easton Street property fell over. That's never gonna happen.
So maybe.
Well, one thing that
Those
comes
people
up,
gotta pay that
I
tax.
mean, this committee, Nat, we don't have time for this
Yeah,
petrol landing.
never gonna
Yeah,
happen.
well,
By the way,
I can give you that.
Petrol was a boat, and originally it was a possession.
see, this is where this is how,
Petra apostrophe S.
this is how we burned 15 minutes in our meeting, just talking about the history of petrol landing. So anyhow, so the idea is though, that we try to have recommendations where something could actually be viewed as an accomplishment. That makes sense.
I hear you. On the steamship.
And you, but you could,
I know
but you
exactly.
could say, that, so what, you know, that's not a big deal. But so we as a committee have to rank order all this stuff,
Okay,
which is what we will do. And I will, if a couple of 5s or 4s come back with this committee involved, then I'll certainly let you guys know.
That's good. It's a good way to go.
so may I comment, based on what we heard from Libby Gibson, that from time to time, even if it's not necessarily a formal motion for action, we should be writing up a little report to pass on to the select board. We have discussed and found the following, positive or negative.
To the select board?
We work for the select board. It would go through town manager, of course. The discussions on encroachment,
Oh, okay.
it took a reminder to her that we'd spent hours on
Yeah.
encroachment. But since nothing had been recorded, she wasn't aware of that. Well, it may just be extracts from the minutes. We would point out to the town manager that paragraphs 3 and 4 of the minutes are relevant. She does get a copy. Okay,
So Rick, just to go, I've been interested, you're referring to the section called voting and navigation?
Right.
And under that, there are, several, recommendations. Which one, there are a couple of goals, and under each goal, there are a couple of recommendations. So which goal and which recommendation was it?
Well, I think as a general way, I have not read this in such exquisite detail, but I did go through all of it. And I just said, this seems a little beyond my experience on the committee. Others are obviously in the community much closer to it. And I don't think others have to speak up and be listed as a sort of a participating, helping partner if we're not going to be able to commit the time and resources and knowledge to really help on that part of the report. So a couple hit me. There's one in here that talks about public facilities for bathrooms. Okay, I don't think we're into that.
Just like general, like.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
didn't make.
what goes around comes around. When the town pier was damaged, a number of the local fishermen were using Cathcart Road to get to their boats because it's shallow. They could get their skiffs and so forth onto the beach. And somebody foolishly put up a chain across, it was either that one or Walpus Harbor.
That was sort of.
And it didn't matter. We were asked, what are we gonna do? And before we could even meet, the town had or organized
Right.
who went where, along with the Conservation Foundation, as to who could park where. But that was boating access for what it's
Well,
worth.
I mean, I'll just give you an example, though. For example, the health department is has called out several organizations in the last year or so for having activities on the beach that don't have
Brick and mortar sinks, the hot water.
for washing of hands or bathroom facilities. And because of Massachusetts and the people in Boston defining something as a camp, all of a sudden now you have all these requirements. And and so, for example, Nantucket Community Sailing was defined as a camp.
Yeah.
So now, okay, well, where are your bathrooms? So, we don't have bathrooms, we have sailboats. I mean, it's that sort of thing. And
Ocean.
It's
You know, and-
unbelievable.
And, you know, this poor guy is trying to run a business with, you know, surf school and stuff. Well, you know, where's your bathroom? Yeah, you know,
We
and,
wanna shut the place.
and,
There's too many people
so
that do
it's,
that.
it's this type
So,
of
yeah.
thing that's also getting into this report. Because essentially we're, you know, we're sympathetic to that so,
Okay.
Yeah, for like-
And what I'm hearing is that we all need to do a little bit more homework about what's in the report. And then Phil needs to keep us apprised of, progress in priorities
what I
priorities
will do,
and approval by the
just to
state.
push this along. I will do a Google search where roads and right of way comes up. Now, can I send it to everybody in the committee, or is that gonna be a violation of?
Now, you send it to me, and I distribute it under BCC,
Yeah.
Right.
to members of the committee, and that's
Okay.
for information.
And then, okay, and then if anybody has a comment, come back to me.
Yeah.
And I will do that in the next day or so, so I'll have something to say at our Monday meeting.
We've already done the search and highlighted on the page where roads and right of way is mentioned.
Oh, you've already done it.
Print it out.
Could you send it to
Had
me?
it- we
then?
have a
Yeah, I
PDF.
can do that.
Went
Send
to-
it to me.
Went to
Yep.
the chairman. Okay, and it's just, what is it?
I
10
thought it had
pages?
been distributed.
that, yeah.
And Gordy was good enough to add your table of contents, and so.
Yes, I'll put it back together and send it
Yeah,
to
So you send it to Lee, and then Lee send it to every.
Lee.
I'd like to, I'd like to
I'm
see it.
trying to remember.
Maybe send it to me and then I can play around with it.
why don't we just send it to everybody? It's just a document. We're not
Sure.
asking
It's
for
for
any.
information, just say for information.
Okay.
If you choose to respond only to Phil, not all.
He might not have all our emails either though, so you
I
might have to.
I will tell you, the highlight of Monday's meeting was that harbor master is now one word, not two words.
Interesting. Never,
You'd love this shit.
I never really thought of it.
You'd love this, Nat. I mean, this is.
Listen,
I
we
asked-
gotta fix that old rule down there.
Phil, I asked
No.
Teresa Pompey Charnowski, who
Really?
was one of the early graduates,
Yep.
in mining engineering, what she thought of
Great.
being described as a foreman. And she said to me, I worked 3 years to get that position. I'm damn proud of it.
Well, anyhow, Dave, needless to say, Dave Franzuto's on this committee.
He knows
That's
a
what
lot.
his opinion was. But anyhow.
Okay, Ed Gillum.
And if we go back to kind of our original mission, public access to things, to voting, to whatever. I mean, that's kind of where we should be. We shouldn't have to, I don't think we should get into the public, the details of the ramp, and that's really not our deal. But just that there is access.
Yeah.
If someone were to want to do a ramp. See, I think the access thing is still very vital to even our mission.
And I
going
think the new, if this new committee, it's gonna be even more of a.
And I think, just voting access, quick comment. We all remember when a storm was coming our way. Everybody wanted to get their boat out of the water, and it didn't matter what your priorities were. If you could get to the ramp, we're gonna get you out.
Well,
So to
I
speak.
mean,
Well,
it's,
that was the theory.
I mean, the whole issue of we only have, Children's Beach. And we really, really have to have something. And then Dave Franzuto comes up with the idea of the West Jetty. And, having a ramp off of the Jetty's beach.
Okay, I'm gonna point out that it's a 5:15. I'm not sure. Mike, are you still on?
Oh, he left, he texted me.
Okay. I do have something that's not on the agenda,
That's too long.
and it's very quick. Alan, you volunteered to, check on the status of location of the new monuments, potential sites. May I ask you to, check your files and whatever, and just send me a list, which I can then attach, perhaps to the minutes if it's in time, or, attach to the next agenda.
So you're looking for a list of where of public ways that are not marked, correct? Where we,
For which we have, posts or flat stones that we could install.
we do, we have, by the way, over at at 4 Fairgrounds, where, anyway, over at, the parking areas behind, we have 5 public way monuments, the upright monuments there. And Neil Patterson has recently completed 5 additional ones.
Okay,
Oh, the old monuments.
yeah, so
Like flush.
Yeah.
Monuments.
Right.
what we'll need to do at some point is ask Drew Patno to help us get a work order to get them in the ground.
Right, yeah,
And for
yeah,
that, we're gonna need locations.
no, I understand that. The problem as far as the locations. So I said earlier, I went through all my notes and so on, looking for a list of additional.
Okay, I'll see what I can find as well.
Okay, and maybe Bob, you can check to see if there's some public ways that you would recommend we put a public way posted. By the way, Neil Patterson said he would be happy to install those posts.
Oh, that's great. Okay,
Mr.
if
Chair,
Mike is left and Drew's not here, that's Bob. Anything from the real estate specialty?
No, other than you referenced it earlier, and I don't want to get into a broader discussion, but we will be presenting the encroachment presentation, which is simply a PowerPoint outlining the current policy. No new changes, no proposed changes. And that the purpose of that is to get it out there, start some outreach, start some communication, which I think will be a big part of helping people understand.
Exactly.
And if they don't understand,
Layouts.
right, and this will really, and it highlights the fact that the asphalt is not the
Yeah,
extent of the
doesn't mean
public
anything.
way, things like that. So I think it would just help those people that are acting in good faith to have a better understanding. But what we will do after that is come to this committee and among others and say, what do you guys propose? Whether it's some of the rehash of your older recommendations or because of proliferation of rocks and stakes, for example, is there something? We've had some preliminary discussions with the police chief, with Drew Patno. Everybody's very engaged, a lot of good ideas, but we'll look forward to asking you for some ideas as well,
Yeah.
not today.
The regulation,
Yeah.
I believe, says that if the homeowner doesn't remove it, DPW will charge him. And that's in the town regulation.
Yes.
So your predecessor, Ken Bogran, was talking to this group about encroachments. He said, well, that's something for the encroachment committee. And I said, Ken,
We don't have one.
who is the committee? He says, I think I am.
Well,
And go,
I wanted to just flesh this out just a little bit, is that, I mean, this could go back to the days of like when you did the sidewalks or whatever. We could actually have a walking thing and identify some of these encroachments. And then there was a talk about some licenses and things for some of them that are there that, you know, if this hedge really is not a bother, but it's an encroachment and it's been there for a long time, maybe the people have to pay a fee to keep their hedge where it is. or
similar
whatever.
to the town tree type stuff. There's
Yes.
ways. that
Yes.
You can't, it's like I say about curb cuts in town, second curb cuts, you have to go look. If you don't look, you're not doing
Or
it.
maybe we could actually end up having not all of us at once, no open meeting thing, but the field trips like we did to the bluff or something like that for encroachments, you know, in certain areas, like you go this direction.
And what I will say is, I do think the outreach will be very helpful because what we've done thus far through, the existing policy is really focused on what we call the term of our untamed shrubbery. Which is overgrown shrubs, whether it's on corners above a certain height, over the road, blocking a sidewalk. We've had a lot of cooperation, a lot of very positive engagement.
Yeah.
People will call and say, whether they're doing it themselves or through a landscaper, I wasn't aware, what can I do? What are the rules? We send a little image and illustration. So again, I think with the rocks and stakes, once we do something more specific to that in the form of outreach, we'll get a lot of cooperation, then we may need to do some gentle enforcement or enforcement as well. But that's where, but there may be other ideas as to, you know, do we have to tweak the proposed fines and things like that are in the policy now to really make them have more teeth? Because I think what we're seeing is some of the fines that are existing for certain issues around the island simply don't get anybody's attention. So, you know, there would be, but these are all things to talk about that we'll be glad to talk to this committee about.
And,
Like the drug advisory.
Think about it.
Bob,
Yes,
scope the existing policy, which may be all you need with an enhanced sense of enforcement, or the enforcement part of the policy may need to be strengthened. And we could comment on that.
oh, yeah, no, you will see, a presentation to the select board in the form of the PowerPoint. This is our current policy. This is
Yeah.
the outreach we want to do, and a discussion of are there things we can do now? And then again,
And if
over
there's-
time would be
If
the
there's anything
revision.
specific,
Yes,
let us know.
we will do that.
All right,
Can I bring up one?
you certainly may.
And I'm only gonna bring it up quickly because we're not in discussion, but something that caught my eye and I wanted to bring it up at the last meeting, but it was lasting too long, as this one is as well, perhaps. I caught an article about the governor's proposed bill that was talking about the state ownership over select barrier beaches. And how I
Get rid of Klein Law?
I saw there's a provision in the bill proposed by Governor Maura Healey will give the state ownership over barrier beaches that move below the low water line of a great pond in Massachusetts. And how it would affect public access with the shifting erosion and this, that, the other to the public access. And I found it a very interesting start of a discussion, because it was gonna be, instead of like right now, Massachusetts law, the property line goes with the, you know, it can move. But with erosion, follow the low tide line. But though it also addressed public access over this move, like when it moved around. And then I think there's some more discussion in the higher offices that Healy's trying to take care of, perhaps one of our big donors to her campaign and things like this, because he had an issue with the break this, but I don't know, I'm not gonna get into that side of things. But it could have something to do with the great ponds on Nantucket, public access to this. So if we can just bring it up, maybe I can read the article further and kind of do some research for next
Yeah,
meeting, maybe.
Ed, I apologize because I'm sorting out some papers here. I think it's a good thing. Could you send either the article or a link to the
I'll
article?
try to find the link. I just happened
Next to
to,
you,
I'll try to find it.
to go into the minutes with the issue then of whether or not it becomes a topic of concern for this committee.
Okay.
Thank
I'll
you.
try to
Phil.
find it. Yeah.
I'm now going to turn into a good husband and take my wife to dinner.
So with that, a motion to,
A motion to adjourn would be great.
so moved.
Bill Smith. And Snooky Eldridge. This time, just say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
All right.
I will keep you posted.
I'm gonna